Hello, and I'm back. Let's see if I can handle this right now. It's nice to see you all. Sorry, gotta laugh, gotta love it. Got a buddy cold every day. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're probably too young to watch this video. No, actually, this is kind of, I'm not an ageist. If you're young and you're watching this video, I hope I can help you. I hope some of this is insightful because, again, if I had a chance to be future me, I know what I knew, or had resources to look into this, or just even have someone point me in the right direction, would have been so amazing. Like, I've even had counselors my whole life. And sometimes the best investigating you can do is self-investigating. So that's why we're here. So I'm just going to tick this up a bit because I don't like where it's at. But anyway, okay. So we're going to just deep dive into some of the other personality traits and topics. I'll just come out right and say it. Like, I know there's like type A, type B, type C, type E, introvert, extrovert, but not always. Not focusing on those today, so I'm just bringing them up to say that we're not talking about that. However, maybe down the line I will do a video on those specific personality traits. So again, this is just like a self-help. I'm just like a disclaimer. Please go see a therapist or a counselor. 100% advise. Need to do that. Okay. I was really just like super into that last video, but let's move on. So we can talk a little bit about codependency. And I mean, to an extent, we can all be kind of guilty of that without even realizing it, because it disguises itself very well as nurturing and caring, and that self-sacrifice has been something that, growing up, you see in the movies, let's be honest, women continually self-sacrificing themselves for the greater good, for their man or for the people in their lives, or at the expense of others. It's just something that, you see in that toxic femininity culture, you see it in toxic masculinity culture. Codependency, it also derives from certain aspects in your life from growing up. Your family dynamic, but the thing about codependency is that it hides everywhere. So you can be rich, you can be poor, you can be in a loving family, you can be in a family that always lashes out, but there's, it can disguise itself and hide everywhere. So codependency is one of those things that's really hard to get away from. And it's actually also referred to as almost the opposite of narcissism, because codependency is the sacrifice of oneself for the betterment of another person, where narcissism is the sacrifice of others for the betterment of themselves. So it's kind of funny how that balance is that out. So, it's hard because as a loving and caring person, you become a victim to a narcissist. And then at the end of the day, you're left with all the pieces, all the broken pieces, all your life perhaps could be completely in shambles. And it's because you chose to be loving and caring. And so it's insult to injury to have to say, okay, I have to take accountability for how much I sacrifice and care for someone, because I'll hurt myself and the people around me and my life that I worked hard for. So it's kind of like, the word that those smart people say. But I know words are somewhat elusive for me, because I feel like I have so many words rambling around in my head constantly that I sometimes just can't find that right word. And there was a time in my life where those words came quite easily, but working on that. So anyway, codependency, it can be good, like it can't be good, but it can be misleading, and you hurt yourself by participating in codependency. Being where I'm at in my life right now, I will deny that I have and still do participate in codependency behaviors. Sometimes it's just easier to get along with certain people or other people, certain relationship dynamics in my life that have led up to this point of this codependency. It's just easier to sometimes cater to it in that manner. It's almost like sometimes those codependent relationships are kind of solid foundations, like I guess the ones that worked out by not working out, but they're some of the most solid foundations that I have now because of the predictability of that codependent relationship. It went to the ends and back, and all the boundaries are laid out, all the self-sacrifices have been made to the point that there couldn't be another sacrifice to be made. If for the betterment of both people in the situation, we both, with my negligent narcissist ex, we both moved on in our separate ways, but we still maintain this sort of a tiny codependency on each other's predictability. And it's actually been really healthy for us, because we can always go back to knowing that predictability is still there for our kids and for our life, our day-to-day life. And it's been a good structure. So it's morphed and it's changed, but I'm coming from a very a codependent way of thinking, not realizing that that's what I was doing, trying to be a rescuer. So so we have the codependency type of relationship where the narcissist feeds off of that. Those usually end up being, if your codependency matches up to the narcissistic's supply and needs, those relationships can be never ending and really, really hard to get out of, so hard to get out of. The long-lasting effects of those narcissistic relationships are tumultuous and they're unfair, and sometimes they leave a lot of people scratching their heads, like, why are they together? Why have they not left each other? Or sort of stuff like that. Because again, the codependency, you're getting your needs met by being self-sacrificing for that person, and again, you're misled, you're probably trapped, not realizing you were going to be sacrificing what you were ended up sacrificing, but that's grooming. So you get groomed, you know, to sacrifice a little bit here, a little bit there, you know, a little bit on the surface. And then as time goes on, you get deeper invested. And they ask, oh, I just need a little more, a little more. Like, it's like giving someone, $10,000 in 2 years, in one day. You can do that. You can be like, maybe some people can, but you'd sort of be like, what? Like, I just met you, I'm not giving you $10,000. Like, if it's a boyfriend situation. But if they're like, oh, you know, I just need a few bucks, I just need like $10 and I could be better, and I could do this, or I could get gas, I could do that. And then, like, using the money as a metaphor for emotions and feelings. So you give the person, and then over 2 years, you've just given them $10,000. And yeah, like, you know, that's a long game, right? That's the long game. But you would never have been like, you know, if they were like, oh, I'll be in your life if you give me $10,000 right now. And it's just kind of like that. So you don't know always emotionally what you're giving up right up front, and you wouldn't always agree to the end game either. So it's always that, you know, nickel and diming you, breadcrumbing you, and that's another way too. Like, you know, you try to turn away from a narcissist relationship and they begin to breadcrumb you. You're getting breadcrumbed back into the relationship. So it's a type of love bombing, but downgraded a lot, basically to the point of barely just keeping you hanging on. And because, again, you're stuck in a situation with a narcissist that triggers the exact part in your brain that triggers addiction, the breadcrumbing is like, you're just so elated that you even receive so little. And it's so depressing, folks. Like, so it's so sad. And you know, I've been there, and it's like rock bottom. I felt like a junkie, and the breadcrumbing it's sad. And there's a metaphor that goes like, you know, there's a guy who wanted to know how little he could feed his horse, and he practically had groomed it down to eating nothing right before it died. So the horse didn't even realize how much it was committing its own suicide by eating less and less and being satisfied with eating less and less. And you know, it groomed itself to death. Like, it's awful. Otherwise, if you told that horse, you said, hey, I'm going to feed you less and less every day, you know, and you're not going to do anything, you're not going to fight out, you're just going to eventually, it's going to kill you because you don't have the nutrients you need in your body. But it's going to happen so slowly you won't even really notice it. You'll just be living in like an awful state until that point, but you won't really be able to figure out exactly what's going on. So that's kind of breadcrumbing and the neglect and the kind of position that it puts you in. You would never agree if you were that horse to say, yeah, I want, let's do that. Like, cool. Like, you want to save a few bucks and groom me until I die eventually much earlier than I should in my life. Well, let's do this. No, that horse is going to be like, hey, like, it's healthy right then. It's going to be like, maybe you should give me away to someone else or set me free. I don't know what a horse would say. You know, horses are amazing, and their dialogue is beyond my capacity. Gotta throw a couple of those in there to just, you know, make sure you're still listening. So anyway, moving on from codependent a little bit, like, and the breadcrumbing. We're talking about breadcrumbing. So breadcrumbing, again, you know, I've heard stories too where it's like, he didn't go on his cell phone all night, you know. It's like, oh my god, like, I finally got his attention to me. And that's so sad. Like, and again, I've been there for sure. Like, I'm not getting in, that's off the table for today. Maybe one day I'll do a whole tear jerking rendition of my life. But you know, my life's pretty good right now. I'm in a really happy place right now. And I don't really want to unpack that right now. So breadcrumbing, I think those examples suffice. And they keep you trapped in that relationship. And yes, the narcissist deliberately is aware of what they're doing, and they're deliberately keeping you in an awful state. So bear that in mind. I know the addiction is hard to cut, and like, again, I stayed in a relationship and I did things to maintain that relationship, and I accepted things that I would never accept in a relationship now, or ever thought I would in the past, because of the addiction. And I knew something was happening to me. I knew I was becoming addicted to certain things in that relationship, and I didn't want to face that. I didn't want to have to. I knew. I'm 100% aware of how hard breaking that cycle is, and it was scary to me. And accepting the breadcrumbs and accepting what was coming to me from them to maintain me showed me that, okay, like, this still isn't over. I can still hang on. It's like hanging onto a bridge, and it's raining and the current is pulling you under, but they're just like, I'll hold your hand for 5 minutes, and you're like, okay, thanks. Because dropping in this water is hella scary, and I don't know what's gonna happen. And you're like, maybe I'll let go when it stops raining, and it never stops raining. You're like maybe it will stop raining. You're like, it's been days, and it's like the circumstances just tend to get worse and worse. So like, so all of a sudden, you know, you've got things biting on your toes, and it's just like, you know, like, it's bad and it's getting worse. And then the narcissist breadcrumbs you, and you're just like, okay, I'm still gonna hold on. And because, again, the outlook is not good for you emotionally and stuff. And when I finally let go and fell into that water, I basically was like pushed into the water. I was discarded. I was forced to deal with that emotional river that was sucking me under. And it was scary. I was suicidal. I had never felt my brain on the brink of collapsing to that point in my life. I thought I would die. And it's great. I feel like I've been told there's something called, like, people who have passed over into this realm called super awareness. And I'm like, I don't like, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel maybe I'm there. Maybe I got there. I think so, because that was a very traumatic. And the withdrawals that I had, the breakdowns that I had, and the awareness I had of how close I was to really ending up in a bad situation, either my brain completely scrambled, mental or dead, was very real. And that's all I was in those moments. That's all I could be in those moments. That's all I had in those moments. And healing from that was amazing. It's been an amazing journey when the pain subsided and I was able to completely break free from that and move on from my life. And a lot of people discarded me, and I discarded a lot of people. True friends really emerged in that situation, and some people I will never ever not be disappointed in are left in, on the beaches of that manic episode, that horrifying near-death experience I had. And those people who were really there for me kind of showed up later, and I'm super eternally forever grateful for them. Those women, it's hard because the women that showed up for me after everything that happened had similar experiences, and it's hard, and a lot of people are expected to carry that cross silently and alone, and that's really unfair. Whoever made up that rule that at the expense of another person's expense of you need to stay silent, check yourself. Okay, if you really believe that, if you seriously believe that someone needs to be quiet about their actual real pain, so to not jeopardize or like, I don't even know, like at that point it had nothing to do with the other person. It was my life, it was my pain. And that there was, in my specific situation, there was contact between me and this other person that I should never have been in contact with. And it's just like there was just things. Again, let's save story time. I don't want to be like, oh, leaving you on a cliffhanger, but we're gonna leave it on a cliffhanger for this for now, because I don't want to feel like I'm just throwing people under the bus. Like, everyone has their own shit, everyone has their own drama, and it's just there's always a reckoning. Like, the decisions were made, they have to deal with their life just as much as I have to deal with mine. Them going out of their way to make my life extra shitty was really fucked up of them, but I mean, that's something that they're gonna have to face in themselves one day. So cool. Anyway, okay, so bipolar, or also known as schizoid disorder, really can affect a person and draw them into narcissistic relationships as well. In fact, they say bipolar disorder is basically a failed attempt at the brain trying to create narcissism. So yeah, that doesn't make you feel fucking awful. So I'm like, okay, well, so apparently, bipolar disorder is treatable, and with again, I can't say enough, therapy and medication. But narcissism is a personality disorder that you have for your whole entire life, and I know I touched on that already, but going into elaborate on that. So what bipolar has is it has manic episodes, which the narcissist loves because they're exciting for the narcissist, and the narcissism loves excitement and they love drama. And they like to kind of go on. Narcissism are very cold and calculating most of the time, right? And again, they always know what their intentions are. However, when they're with someone who's bipolar, it really kind of livens things up for them. It makes things, sort of a little bit more unpredictable, but they're still receiving their narcissistic supply. And learning how to push, someone's buttons who's bipolar and suffering from bipolar disorder is something that a narcissist just lives for. That's unlimited supply for them. Because narcissism and bipolar disorder overlap a lot and they share a lot of the same traits. However, when you're suffering from BPD, it is said that the traits that overlap with narcissism are suffered independently, where narcissism, because it's a personality, it's just this whole imbued thing. So that's kind of like a different thing. And again, never diagnose someone. You can heal and know that they're a narcissist in your life, and that knowing that they should probably get help. But you should never diagnose a person, and you should never confront someone with narcissism either, because they're probably just going to call you a narcissist, or they're going to throw it back in your face, like I just said, or and they're not going to be aware of it. Even the doctor who I admire, yeah, I'm so bad with names. Let's try to see if I can remember. I'll follow up with his name. But even he said that he was diagnosed with this multiple times before he actually took it seriously and decided, hey, I'm gonna go and look into this a lot more and figure out what it is that I have here. So that's that is where we're at with that. And I'm not finding it anywhere, so I think his name is like Vic Samson. I'll tag it, maybe put it in the comments. So anyway, yeah, so moving on from that, the bipolar disorder and the narcissistic personality disorder is something that I want to do a more of a deep dive in. I'll probably do like its own specific video about that. And then we have now this is something that's just like kind of mind-blowing for me. Okay, I just recently actually stumbled across this and it kind of made my head explode a little bit. Inverted narcissism. Okay. So inverted narcissism basically makes people out there actually have characteristic traits or a disorder that curates or caters to, or that needs narcissists in their life. So that's So now, to be clear, if you're with a narcissist, you have narcissistic parents, or you have to work with narcissists, that doesn't mean you're an inverted narcissist. Okay, what an inverted narcissist is that it means you need to. Okay, so narcissism is basically someone living objectively. So it's so hard to get, actually, it's pretty hard to detail. I'm not even gonna fake it until I make it. I'm gonna get there. So basically it's just like something that kind of just sort of threw me off, especially someone who deals like as an empath. I'm like, am I an inverted narcissist? And that's something that I have to think about, because but again, you know, I don't seem to ever feel like I fully fit into something. And that might be your situation too, where we all have these traits, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, and we can just deal with them the best way that we can. And inverted narcissism is something where they don't like to be alone. I love being alone. I love being single. I've been single a lot in my life, but I also feel like, you know, when I'm dating someone, you kind of take on that persona, you kind of take on what they're all about, their grandiosity, whatever it may be. And I've totally done that. And, you know, and so it's a part of me. It's like when I miss a relationship or I miss a person, I also miss the person I was with them, because I took on so much of us in the relationship of them. And so that's kind of interesting. So anyway, but I mean, it goes deeper than that, where the other person cannot identify themselves without a narcissist in their lives. Like I've a good example of back in the day when you were married to a doctor, you would also just, like, as the wife of a doctor, become doctor, you know, and they would refer to you as doctor. So, you know, you could really, really live through your partner's grandiosity in that way. And they do rely on their narcissist for identity. They need that supply in order to move on and into their lives, because they don't feed their own needs. They also like to, they feel characteristic traits of an inverted narcissist are that they feel like they don't belong, and if sometimes the things try to include them too much, they will pull back from those things. They also feel that nobody can understand how special they are, so they also tend to shy away from people who try to really actually get to know them. They also don't like people placing expectations on them. So if there's a competition that they know they can win, they will self-sabotage. Or if there's a situation where they can shine, they will usually step back from that, because they want to lift other people up in their lives who want that kind of attention and that grandiosity, and not them. However, they like to live through the idealization of the narcissist. So that's a whole other level. Also, so inverted narcissists can also transfer into covert narcissists. However, again, inverted narcissism is a personality disorder that is very hard to tell what someone is or isn't. So another, did I already touch on narcissistic parents? Because if yes, oh right, I did. Yeah, 10%. Yes. Okay. So then we have just other personality types which are truth tellers and authentic people. And I like to hold myself to this category. I feel that I have burned a lot of bridges, and I have, unfortunately, like, in a lot of bridges, I mean, like, not in a fiery fuck you kind of way, but in a way of like, that's a lie and I'm not going along with that. And the reason why I refuse to go along with lies is because you can't build a foundation on lies. And coming from where I've come from, the very poor background that I've come from, I've seen my parents try and do that and fail over and over and over again. And I also seen and felt the effects of it. And I can't be in close relationships with people who lie to themselves and don't look at reality and don't plan ahead of time, or like those people that like scratch their head, I don't know how this could have happened to me. I mean, that happens to all of us. I've even been, you know, I've been in relationships too, where I'm like, well, how is this happening? How did this happen? Blah, blah, blah. That's naivety, and that's fine. But when it comes to when you know it's wrong and you've already learned that lesson, but you just keep repeating it, like the Einstein thing, like, yeah, like I can't be around those people. That is insanity, and it has affected me greatly and gravely. And I, as an authentic person, cannot be around that type of lifestyle. And a lot of people live in that delusion where, you know, they don't know the rules, maybe, and they don't want to get to know the rules, but they're just going along for the ride and ignoring their life. And that's just, it's sad, it's heartbreaking. But being an authentic person and being a truth teller will actually put you in an advantage, because narcissists lies. Narcissism in that specific diagnosis is pathological liar, like lies upon lies upon lies. I'm sure the stories that some of you that are watching this could tell would blow my mind, because I have watched many narcissism story times, and it didn't shock me. I believed these women, and it's still completely alters and changes how far these liars are willing to go. And even though you're like, I don't doubt it, I don't want to believe it. Like, that is some serious lies. And they never cease to blow my mind, even though I believe it. So yeah, so the pathological lying is a huge part of being a narcissist, and it's an unfortunate part. So being an authentic person, like, even if you're struggling, and sometimes people who've been in narcissistic relationships tend to self-blame, and, you know, just baby steps. And that's something that I've heard moving along, like, you know, just be as authentic to yourself as possible. And that putting that first step in front of the other step is going to actually lead you to a better life. Coming from where I've come from, trying and doing my best to continuously be aware of what is honest, what is real, and sticking to that, and always trying to traverse that path. Yes, I have come up against many things in my life that have tried to deter my route, and or stop me from moving on further, or to remind me that I'm never getting free from that. But I just, you know, one foot in front of the other. Those there's just no point in lying, you know. My brain is full of so many thoughts all the time that lying just doesn't even make any sense to me. Like, I want to be as honest as I can because I want to know as much truth as I can. And then when you're a liar, you have to keep all these lies straight. And I know that sometimes people can even utilize the fact that they lie to their advantage. Now, for an example, in my last relationship, I was continuously cheated on, even though I continuously said, hey, I'm okay if you see other people, because my cups are full and this person was a lot of work and they needed a lot of attention, and I have kids. I was like, you know, and I was like, if they want to see other people, that's fine. And they're already seeing other people anyway. I'm not going to get all hung up about it. If they make time for me when we have our special times together, that's great. And if I can be of service to them and help them and rescue them when they need me to, great. But let's, like, you know, but they were all, no, I don't want to, basically, I would prefer to keep lying about this. It was basically the answer that I got every time. Also, I was too nosy. They didn't want to be honest with me because I was too nosy, even though I caught them cheating on me multiple times and just didn't ask any questions. Basically, like, are you safe? Was it safe? Were you good? Okay, like, you're here with me now. I'm not even, your life outside, I'm not cheating on him, but his life outside of me, my life was outside of him. He's a sex addict. So I was kind of like, you know, that's fine. But, for example, so he would lie and say, I'm not seeing other people. And then he would be like, oh, hey, where's that lube I bought you? And I'd be like, what lube? And he's like, yeah, we just went and we bought 3 lubes. Where are they? And I'm like, 3 loops, yeah, buddy, sure, right, 3 loops. And he'd just be like, oh, and then he would like, and then part of me would know, I knew that he didn't buy those 3 loops with me. He bought them with someone else. But it's a reminder, like, of, hey, yeah, I'm still lying, and you're not catching me, and you're not paying, and, you know, like, putting energy into babysitting him. I tried to express to him was not something I wanted to do, but that was something he required of me as his supply to do, was to constantly make sure I noticed when he was tanning or he whitened his fucking anus or whatever the fuck, you know. That's how needy he was. Yeah, so it's like, okay, that was a way for him to constantly degrade me, break me down, and hang over my head that if I didn't treat him like a god or a king, that he could go and be out that door and be with someone who would, because there was multiple someones that he could just discard me for at any given moment if, again, I didn't put him on his pedestal and treat him and make the most of his time with me. So I better not forget that. So lying, being a liar as a narcissist is everything. It's, again, like, not only a way for them to get away with things, the things that they lie about and how good they are at lying is impeccable. Like, definitely, you know, if you could, it's a great, they've mastered the skill, but to what avail and to what cause, you know, to hurt people around them. And they've even manipulated and perfected the way of using the fact that they're liars to manipulate you, even break you down even more. So yeah, like, it's just a vicious cycle. So being an authentic person, I also feel, unless you're like, I mean, genetics also have a huge role to play in this, but if you live your life closest to the truth that you possibly can, you probably have a less chance of becoming senile as you're growing older, because you're gonna get your needs met. You're gonna look at what you really need, not like my grandma's fake fake empathy for her chicken. She's not looking at what she really, and again, she was raised in a way where her feelings were never validated. So I get, like, again, you know, I don't think she's necessarily a narcissist, but she definitely struggled with a lot of personality and hardships in her life. Maybe in rescue, I saw that in her a lot. And you know, I heard another story about, you know, someone blaming someone about their ring. Their wedding ring is missing and so stole it. But, you know, in all retrospect, they just want someone to acknowledge that they feel robbed because they didn't have the marriage that they wanted and the life that they thought being loyal to that promise would bring them. And so that's kind of where the senility can get you. If you're not fulfilling your needs and you are constantly, you know, lying, you can't tell. There's going to be a day where you can't tell your lies from your truth. So stick to the truth. It's super important. Authenticity, super important. And also, those character traits will make narcissists not like you. And that, to me, is like a gold treasure map to the riches of the world. So, I mean, how amazing is that? Be yourself, deter awful narcissistic people who take advantage, energy vampires, like, oh, the energy I have now, and the free will and the love and the life and everything that I have now, my life is amazing. I don't want to be like, I'm so amazing, because what if they watch this and they're all like, mad that I'm happy, because they would be, because like people get mad. I'm like, please, I don't want to downplay my happiness. I've come a long way and I've worked really damn hard to get happy, so I am not downplaying it. I'm so excited about this summer. I got some camping trips, and I hope you guys have some plans for this COVID or not COVID summer, probably COVID, but I hope you guys have some plans as well. I'm gonna be out. I don't think I'm gonna make a third video tonight unless I'm really so inclined, but come at me next week. I should have another 2 videos. I think I'll do these weekly. I just had an extra day to myself because photography got pushed back. So great. Yeah, so just stay true to yourself, be authentic, and live your life and take those baby steps into the authentic life that you want to have. And when you look around, yeah, you know, like I have been through shit. I have been through so much shit, and I never thought I would ever get to my "you have arrived" moment. And I'm here, and I'm so happy that I'm here. I'm so glad I'm here. I still have this existential of like, why do I have to go through all that, and what is this life about? Like, again, we can get into that a little bit. It's a heavy topic. Like, you know, the world is whack. You know, we have all these pretty things, and we have all these like amazing touching stories, and these horrific stories, and these life experiences, and these near-death experiences, and these wonderful books we've read, and these shows that make us laugh. Like, but it's like, what? Why? Yeah. So we're gonna go into relationships, and maybe I'm gonna deter from narcissism for the next couple videos and talk about other styles of love, and like polyamory is really like